Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Today I have with me Junior Assistant Professor of Health and Kinesiology at Prairie View University and CEO of Magnolia Sports LLC, Dr. Howard Bartee. Hey Doc, how you doing today?
How's it going, son? Just doing well today.
It's going well. I said that's good. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show this evening, and excited about the opportunity. A little bit about myself. I'm a native of Quitman, Mississippi, a small town in East Central Mississippi, and a Quitman High grad and a Tougaloo College graduate in field of sports. Field of political science and accounting, but I have a doctoral degree in sports management from the United States Sports Academy.
Awesome. Okay. Well, good. Well, before we start, I wanted to ask you, tell me more about Magnolia Sports Promotions. What do they offer?
Well, at Magnolia Sports Promotions, we offer a collection of services ranging from event promotions. We look at data analytics, sports data analytics, and also consulting in different areas that sports organizations may have an interest in finding out information about their organization to help them to be more efficient. We also do some public speaking and activities where we just promote sports on many different levels, not only from a youth sports level, but to a high school and college level as well.
Okay. Well, I'm sure I will be reaching out to you for your services one day soon. Thank you. I didn't know you even had that until I started doing research on you, so that sounded very interesting. Cool. All right.
Okay.
Well, while I was working on my master's in sports administration at Belhaven University, Dr. Bartee was my department chair. I was actually part of the first class to start the sports administration program in 2011. Doc, were you a part of helping getting that program started?
Yes, I was, and I'm glad to say you were one of our first graduates. I had the opportunity to be at Belhaven University, and our program was set up in such a way that for students like yourself and the graduates that we eventually produced, including yourself, it was set up for working adults who could take classes online. So when I started at Belhaven in 2011 in that role for the chair position for graduate and undergraduate, the task I was given was to help to develop an online Master of Sports Administration program. And so within this program, we had students who were working and were taking classes online. And the online model, especially then and even more prevalent now in that we're in a COVID-19 environment, it's very valuable and it's flexible where, those interested in the field of sports either can go online full-time or kind of go at their own pace. So, we developed the program. It was consistent of, not only business courses, because as many people know, the sports industry is an $8 to $9 billion a year industry. So, understanding the business aspects as well as leadership were some of the foundations of that program that we put in place. And very excited now, even today, many of the graduates have moved on to, various professional positions from the high school to professional levels.
Yeah. And, that was my first time, when I got in that program, that was my first time actually going to online school. Okay. And it was a challenge for me at the beginning because, I'm from old school. I didn't have to do that. We were, face-to-face in the classroom, and that's what I was accustomed to. However, after I got into the swing of things, and it took me maybe that first class before I really got myself together, because you have to be organized. And a lot of people don't understand that, because we had to turn stuff in on Wednesdays, our papers on Saturdays, and you have to meet with your study groups. So you have to have organization and make time to get the stuff done, your classwork done, in order to be successful. So It took me one class, but I finally got it. So, thank you.
That's definitely great to hear. And you mentioned one very important thing that I took from what you shared is time management. And, with either on campus or off campus or online, you have to balance your time if you're interested in the field of sports. And one of the principles of a program like that, you teach it from a kind of worldview perspective, but you also teach it from a preparation for the real world perspective. Because, little did we know, even in 2020, the dynamics of sports has changed tremendously. So, in all of the programs that I've worked with, I always try to teach students to look at things, as well as young professionals, to look at things from a pro and con perspective. Because those soft skills that you develop, can now help you when you're in a time that maybe be uncertain. And, in sports, it can be filled with a lot of uncertainty. But, having that foundation, that ability to be forward-thinking is very important. And, again, as Sonja has mentioned, who does a great job at her She Say Sports, time management is critical.
Thank you so much. I have a little story to tell. It's amazing where we are today, Doc.
Okay. Let's see this.
My last class, I think it was maybe right before I was about to finish my last class. You ended up teaching that class. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all, he gave me a couple of bad grades, and I wasn't happy about it. One may have been a C, the other one may have been a D, and I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, this is a good paper. And he was like, pretty much, nope, no, it's not. And I was not happy, to say the least, because I'm almost done. And I'm like, come on, why are you even teaching this class? And then, so then a few years ago, maybe 2018, I get a friend request on Facebook from Dr. Bartee. I was like, I'm not accepting his friend request. I'm like, because I'm thinking about that C and D, but I'm glad I did. We're in a different place. We're adults, and I got over it.
Well, I'm definitely glad you did. And one of the things over the years with sports is that is important is networking. And I have a group of it's actually a Facebook group called the Next Level Sports Group. And in this group, you have a collection of people who are graduates of sports administration programs and sports programs from around the country. You have working professionals, and you also have those that are in the industry. And so one of the things that we do in that group, and, I built my network from contacts I made over the years, is that we try to connect in that group, as well as other groups, any information that you can share that will help people get to that next level in their career. So I'm definitely glad that Sonja came on board, and she's a member of that group, as well as, the many other members. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Doc, when this program started at Belhaven, was it the only one like this for the colleges or universities in the area or even in the state of Mississippi?
It was one of the first ones there in the state of Mississippi, and, we taught it from a perspective of, the working adult. And it was an online program, and it's still in existence today, that was different than, the traditional programs were mostly held in brick-and-mortar school situations. And so, we started out, with graduate assistants who were going to grad school. We had working adults. And the same thing has transcended into other programs that I work with, even at Houston Baptist University, as well as, now working at Prairie View, working with their student population. The ability to, have students and, those individuals that have a desire to work in sport, to be able to put themselves in a position where they're, getting that solid educational background, for one, and then also being able to build a network. And, when we started that program, Belhaven, we wrote a lot of the classes from scratch. A lot of my experiences, along with our staff there, I had taken some classes when I mentioned earlier that I have a doctorate in education and sports management from the United States Sports Academy. I started that program actually back in 2004 and completed it on August 28, 2008. And so it's a 4.5-year program, and, we took online classes as a part of that as well as being on campus, giving a shout-out to the U.S. Sports Academy. One of the things that I found is that, online education can be challenging. And, I was in the early stages back in 2004. So here we are in 2020, and it has become, I don't want to say it's become the norm, but, as we're seeing during these pandemic times, a lot of the school systems, not only public schools, private schools, but even colleges and universities are having to balance the implementation of online education. Right. So, not to toot my horn, but, it's kind of looking back, in 2004, it wasn't popular.
Not at all.
But in 2020, and even in your situation, Sandra, when you were a grad student, it wasn't as popular. But what I've always felt, and I continue to share with, people that I meet, is you always want to have a vision, not only for your present, but also for your future. And, in the context of that, you're always developing skills. So those skills that I was first starting out in 2004, I was able to take my experiences from being a student to being a professional. I've taught online classes over the years, and I've developed sports management programs over the years. But I go back to starting out in 2004, with a vision that, hey, this is a skill. This may be something that's not common right now, but it could grow. And that's one of the other things I mentioned to Sandra, that I also have some further studies at Rice University. Recently completed a data analytics and visualization certification program. I had swore up and down I wasn't going back to school, but, during the early stages of the pandemic, I'd actually started a program at Rice where we were going face-to-face. And it was a 7-month program because I have a passion for sports and data analytics as well. So, completing that certification, even during this season of uncertainty, in July of this year was exciting because, we had to shift gears quickly from being face-to-face to being online. And so I was ready. It was still challenging, don't get me wrong, but my advice to anyone pursuing a career in sports management is be open to change and getting those skills that will help you to adjust in any circumstance. We saw in this year's NFL draft, the first ever virtual draft.
Right.
32 teams operate virtually, so just be ready at all times.
I'm sorry. They did a great job.
Yes. Definitely.
They did. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Are you good? But that's it. Just be ready at all times and, prepare your skills.
Right. So, Doc, tell the listeners, what can one do with the data analytics certification? Well,
I would say, with, me being the CEO of my own company, Magnolia Sports Promotions, it gives us another skill or avenue in the area of sports. And I know, Sonia, you're in the Dallas area. The Cowboys recently hired, and, I'm a Saints fan, by the way, but the Cowboys recently hired Coach Mike McCarthy. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he did in between his career with the Green Bay Packers and now with the Cowboys was he set up kind of a data analytics camp where he got caught up in learning the aspects of data analytics. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. I know I mentioned Dallas Cowboys. I know you've done some singing with the national anthem with the Dallas Mavericks. Am I correct?
That's correct. Going on 14 seasons.
Okay. And that's you utilizing your singing skills in sports. So, one of the things that I, again, say is you want to be ready for what the current is as well as the present. and even the future. So just as you're seeing at the national anthem and other events with the Dallas Mavericks, I see sports data analytics kind of like esports, kind of that next phase of sports. Those entering the field of sports now, having skills to be able to analyze data. And you can not only analyze data, in sports, but in any area of our economy, with anything, you can utilize that. So I would say having that background, it gives me a vision. I'm, excited about what may come from that. But just being able to visualize data, that goes a long way in terms of not only sports, but life in general.
That's true. That is true. So is it important for people going into the sports industry, to even attain a sports degree? And the reason why I asked that, Doc, is because for many years, sports management or sports administration degrees were not around, and people did just fine, getting jobs in the sports industry.
I definitely think it's a plus. As we've seen the trends, with the hiring of coaches, having advanced degrees is important. And then also having the business component is important as well. Mm-hmm. So, just as I don't have a degree in sports data analytics, but I have a certification in data analytics and visualization. So to apply that to what you're asking about, is it a requirement? I think it's a benefit. Anytime you can get an additional either education or skill set, the one thing that it does, most importantly, it makes you as an individual more marketable. So I would say yes, but then for those that don't have or haven't decided to get an advanced, degree, there is still value in individuals who may not have a master's degree, because it takes a village, and as part of that village, everyone, I believe, can be a valuable part of the team. I oftentimes reflect back to, when I played Little League baseball, and I had a coach, and, he was very, impressionable on our community and getting us involved in sports. And, out of that team, I have a picture in my office where the coach gave it to me. He has a picture of all the kids that were on our Little League baseball team. And each of us took different paths. And so the same thing applies with coaches. Some of the great coaches, may not have had advanced degrees. My coach, luckily, I would say that he did have a college degree, and he impacted me as well as my generation. And so I like to talk to the elders. The elders are full of wisdom. Coaches, a lot of times the reputation of a coach, goes a long way. And so for coaches that have advanced degrees, and those that don't, you wonder, well, why does a certain coach get a job? Or why does this coach get a job and that coach doesn't get a job? One of the things that's becoming more prevalent is having those either advanced degrees. And I think it's a plus. Now, I will say that, knowledge and experience go a long way. And so I think there should be a balance. And so going back to school, the example I always use is kind of like the triangle. At the bottom of the triangle, you start out in high school. Majority of people have a high school education. Then you go up that triangle. Not as many people have. Not as many people have a bachelor's degree. Then you go up that triangle. Not as many people have a master's degree. Then you go up that triangle. Then not as many people have a doctoral degree. So to move up that triangle, you can, open yourself up to getting that advanced degree. So I salute all coaches, because to this day, those coaches have been very important parts of my life, with college degrees, with advanced degrees, as well as those without advanced degrees. So if there are any coaches out there, I would advise you, go get that advanced degree. The only thing it's going to help you do is market yourself even more.
Absolutely. And I guess one of the main advantages of that, like you said, you get to market yourself more, and you're more in your network pool grows. Is that
Exactly.
true?
It does grow a lot, and even like with the Next Level Sports Group, there are people in there that are seasoned coaches, those that are just getting into coaching. Also, you allow yourself to go to conventions, and, you're able to network and put yourself, and it's not just in coaching, but in sports administration in general. It allows you to, learn more about yourself. I know even when I've taught in grad school, you'll have those assignments that are challenging, but at the end, a lot of times, students will say, or graduates will say, well, Doc, I'm glad I went through that process, because you know what? I ran into a situation where I had to remember my event and facilities management course. And that's going on a lot now, especially with social distancing. Who would have thought that a course like event management and facility design would become very important?
You're right.
Now for coaches. Sports finance, how to, navigate when you still have budgets to meet but no fans in the stands. Being creative with, classes such as strategic management or even sports economics. So life experiences can teach you how to deal with that, but courses and theory can help as well. So, and then knowing how to, and I would always use the example, with students and even my classes today. What if you were given this situation and you all of a sudden got that dream job? How would you deal with it when you had no budget? Would you complain, or would you make a way out of no way? As our elders and generations pass, and I know we're getting close to the season of Thanksgiving, we're going to be, expressing our thanks, for all that we've gone through this year and remembering those that are no longer here. And I would be remiss if I didn't say a happy Thanksgiving, as we're getting close to this time of the year. But,
absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving.
Being able to, just be able to, be able to manage and be able to just do things when you may not have much, but, the creativity, the ability to meet certain benchmarks, those are all skills that, we give thanks for having and learning how to do, things that we're not used to doing. And the field of sports gives you that opportunity. I oftentimes look at, so say you don't have a lot of sponsorships. If you look at the fence on a baseball field, or if you look at the fence at a football game, or if you look at parking spaces, those are oftentimes places where you can monetize those types of things, those spaces, into making money. Tailgating. Tailgating at games, though I know now with social distancing, it's maybe not as popular, but, selling those spaces, those are the types of things, that you can get, in the field of sports. Looking at creative ways, bringing creative minds to do creative things. So just being thankful and having people that can do it, that's important.
That's true. And, you made a point, sometimes you may not have the budget or the money, but one thing I've learned, especially, launching this podcast, was, if God gives you a vision, he'll give you provision. Mm-hmm. So that's where it comes in, like you said, you have to be creative, and creative ways will come up to, allow you to do what you need to do to be successful in that situation. But you're absolutely right. Definitely be thankful.
And so you mentioned one thing, and, and I want to shout out, the fact of, you've been a Jackson State alum as well with, the hiring of Coach Prime. I mean, that's been a prime example of marketability on a whole different level. I mean, I grew up being I was a Deion Sanders fan, watching him on the football field, and, I've been impressed with what he's been doing with the microphone and his platform, and, it's changing the game, and it'll be interesting to see, how they continue to grow, and, it's something different, but at the same time, it's sports marketing at its best on a whole different level.
You're absolutely right. And it's amazing how not only with Coach Prime, but even with Commissioner McClellan of the SWAC,
Exactly.
what he did during, like the beginning of the pandemic, adding FAMU and Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah.
The marketing behind that. And, it's amazing how, Jackson State has been trending since the spring because of that ad, because of Coach Prime, and it's just, you're absolutely right. The marketing behind it was outstanding in a pandemic. So you're right.
And even at Prairie View, I expect, with Prairie View being, part of the SWAC as well, there's going to be residual effects of Coach Prime being in the SWAC, and what Commissioner McClellan has done. And, it's just exciting times to be in sports in general, and, with podcasts, it's just the uniqueness of sports is forever changing. And, that's what excites me, It's just the sports. As I tell my students, it's one of those things where, we've all been athletes at certain points in our careers and lives, and had
not
dreams.
Me. Not me.
No sports, son.
Well, this will be like my third time. God gave me the height.
Okay.
But I love basketball. Can be a coach, but cannot play to save my life. I actually did start Jackson's first adult kickball team back in 2011.
Okay.
And so that's the most sports I've done, and we won 2 back-to-back championships, my team. But that's it.
Okay. But even in what you just shared, I'm glad you shared that with me. I know I'm on your show, but at the same time, that's what sports allows us to do. Each of us have certain passions as it relates to sports, and even fitness, exercise, all of these different aspects of sports. There's a place, for each of us. I mean, even with kickball. I remember growing up, kickball was a game we played on the playground, but it's another sport. And as I tell my students and people in general, with sports, eventually the air is going to be out of the ball. And so what are you going to do once the air is out of the ball? And, some go into teaching, some go into entrepreneurship. You have now sports data analytics. Some sing, some dance. So there's always an avenue into this field of sports. And even with youth sports, youth sports is huge, not only here in Texas, but nationally. Youth baseball. My 2 sons, they participate baseball. There's growing 7-on-7 sports. You have AAU basketball. You have club volleyball. You have select soccer, lacrosse. There's so many different areas of sports. So, for young kids out there, adults, anyone, if you don't make it to the NFL, or if you don't make it to the NBA, the WNBA, there's always an opportunity, in sports. You have directors of football operations, baseball operations. So, definitely if there's a passion where you want to go into a career, and fulfill, maybe some dreams of I didn't make it, but hey, there's some place for me. And, I've always enjoyed sports. My dad and mom, my mother's a retired teacher. My dad's a Vietnam veteran. Sports was always, academics was always first, but sports was always in our household, along with my sister. We participated in sports, but we were both fortunate enough to get advanced degrees. And, my passion for sports, even with my wife and our kids, my passion started reading the newspaper. I'm kind of a sports geek, historian, and, reading the Clarion Ledger, Meridian Star. Oftentimes I remember, as a kid, 13-year-old kid, going to a football game in Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium, Alcorn State, Mississippi Valley State, November 4th, 1984. 63,808 people were in the stands on a Sunday. I remember it was just like it was yesterday. And, over the years, just, having that opportunity to be around sports, and now to be able to work in it from an administrative and teaching perspective, as well as, my Magnolia Sports promotion, has been exciting for me. And hopefully being able to reach back to that next generation, people like yourself, Sanja, graduates of programs, and, just preparing for that next generation. It's about, as my teachers have done in the past, working with me to, strengthen my skills and follow my passion. And faith is a very important component. Actually, it's the most important component. My favorite scripture, Psalms 121, verses 1 and 2, I will lift my eyes to the hills from whence cometh my help. Knowing that my help comes from the Lord. That is a scripture, even in sport, when you, suffer defeat or when you suffer victory, you always want to keep going and keep looking up. And so the journey may be long, but the reward is there for you if you set that goal and, pursue that vision of career achievement. So don't get weary. There is a place in sports for you.
Amen. And, and I'm glad you said that because, a lot of people may think, like, why would you even have a sports show and you never played sports? Mm-hmm. My father, I was a daddy's girl, and yeah. I would be with him all the time, and that's how I started watching football and basketball at the age of 5, and I love sports. I love the gridiron, the excitement of it. I love, just everything about it. I may not know, I'm not an X and O type girl as far as like always telling stats, but I know history. I know the history of sports. But when I was interning at Jackson State for the athletic department when I was working on my master's, I enjoyed the operation side of things, getting things ready for the game. And I still want to pursue a career in operations manager. Probably, because mainly probably in a collegiate level or professional, because working with the Mavs, I saw that as well, the operations side. So, I'm more, into the entertainment sports side of things, but I do love sports. So, just to, because somebody may be like, well, why do you even do this show? Because I like to talk sports. I like to talk noise. I enjoy watching the games. Sundays, we're not coming from church, but, after church, getting ready, I'm turning it to Fox or, to watch, getting ready for the game. So that's what I do. So, but speaking of that, it's just, and you mentioned, in this other positions, sports agent, right. It's sports commentator. It's so many different positions. I was a part of a panel last month with some movers and shakers in sports. They were all women. Fox Sports, Minnesota Vikings, NFL operations, and all of these women, New Balance, they're all doing things in sports. May not be, talking X's and O's, being a coach or whatever, but they're doing things in sports that are very, very important. So that's needed. So, yeah. So,
and I'm glad you mentioned that. That's actually one of my, I guess, goals is to increase the pool, the pool of candidates that are actually entering the field of sports. I oftentimes, I read, there's a report card that comes out each year from the University of Central Florida by Dr. Richard Lapchick, and it kind of talks about the racial and gender aspects of sports. And it looks at all components of race and diversity, who's working in different positions at every level of sport. And so, and I share that with my students, and I've taught, and I teach diverse classes. And it gives a realistic view in terms of the actual numbers. And, one of the things I believe in is, is changing the dynamics or increasing the pool of people that are, have the opportunity to participate in sports. And if you see it, in terms of the numbers, then it kind of gives you a realistic view of what it is, not what it will always be. And so it's that part of the what it will not always be, just like you participated in that panel. The dynamics of our world of sport are changing constantly. We see, different coaches. We see, males and females breaking barriers in different sports. And, to me, that's great. To me, that shows a greatness in terms of the potential of tomorrow. And so if there's great potential for tomorrow, we must prepare for today. And that's, reaching back to that next generation and encouraging them to believe in that they can become a part of this dynamic that we know is sports. And, those panel discussions that you participate in, you give yourself an opportunity, in your case, probably expanded your network.
Absolutely.
And that's good. Actually, that's been a benefit over the years for me, with conferences I've been to and meeting people. And, then always having the, kind of both you and I share, being native Mississippians is, having that hospitality to be able to help somebody else. And, right. It can be exciting. We may not see the end results, but, as teachers and coaches in the past, when they plant seeds in terms of teaching, education, the value of sports, they may not see it, but the next generation may see it. And I tell, even my students, with me being a parent of two sons, I tell my students, I'm preparing you to be those sports members or those individuals that would not only impact the next generation, but kids like my two sons. And, those that come after them. So, definitely expanding our reach is important. And sports gives us that. I mean, you and I know Mississippi has produced, the highest percentage a lot of times in professional athletes. I know the other 49 states may say different, but, even here in Texas, I still talk about the legendary aspects of Mississippi sports and how we continue to be a part of history.
That's right. That's right. And, I mean, don't look at it because it's Mississippi.
Exactly.
It's some ballers that came out of here.
Yes, yes.
Ballers. So, yes. And it's just, we got to continue the history. I mean, continue the, not history, continue the, what's the word I'm trying to get?
Legacy.
Legacy, yeah.
How we go with that one?
I know. I went blank for a minute. Yeah, we got to continue the legacy because this, that's why it's so important. This Coach Prime, bring his kids coming back to SWAC schools because everybody can't come to Jackson State. So it's going to spill over into SWAC schools. Period. I mean, we all will benefit from this. So I'm excited about it.
Okay.
So yeah. Well, Doc, do you have any other advice for anyone wanting to get in the sports industry?
Well, I would just say, whatever, and I kind of use a 3D approach. It's desire, dedication, and determination. So, whatever your desire is, wherever your determination is, and whatever your dedication is put that into what you want to become. Don't let anyone discourage you from it. The journey may be long, but the reward will be there for you, and just go for it. Just do it as one company says, just do it.
Just do it. Doc, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Okay.
Tell the listeners how they can reach you if they want to get in touch with you at Magnolia Sports Promotions as well as the Next Level.
But definitely, again, I'm appreciative of the opportunity to be on your show this evening. If anyone wants to reach me, I can be reached at Magnolia Sports Promotions LLC at gmail.com, or I can be reached via contact phone number 770-314-4415. You can follow me on Instagram at HBJ_next level. And also, if you're on Facebook with an interest in joining the Next Level Sports group, we're on there as well. And so, definitely excited. If there's any projects that you need in data analytics, consulting, things of that nature. My day job, my primary job is being an assistant professor at Prairie View A&M University, but also, running my company, Magnolia Sports Promotions, as well. So definitely look forward to hearing from you all. And again, very appreciative of She Say Sports and Sandra Stamps. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And guys, speaking of She Say Sports, you can follow us on Facebook at She Say Sports and Instagram at She Say Sports 23. And that is my show for today. Until next time, this is Sonia with She Say Sports, and I'll see you on the radio.